think about, we've been exploring a great deal, and Mark has been a tremendous help in it, on textile printing. Do you see a future for that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what EFI is doing with their textile printing equipment is fantastic. They brought me some samples here the other day. I was really impressed by what they're doing. It's interesting. One of our letterpress presses belonged to a fabric designer. Mary Ann Lash was her name, at the Folly Cove Designers up in Maine. And they printed with letterpress. That's how they printed on fabric for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The designs were beautiful in many respects. But now, with inkjet and new technology, we're using color. We're doing unbelievable effects on that fabric. And I think that's a growing market. Now, the problem is finding that market. It's not the traditional market that most of your dealers would be going toward. It's people who start in their basements. It's a couple who start this business from scratch and then build it up. And that's what you have to find, is those kinds of people. And finding them is not easy because there's no directory of them. There's no promotion list of them when you get right down to it. But no, I see all kinds of opportunities for digital printing. Remember, when wide format started, it started because we needed a way to proof stuff that was going to be printed digitally, printed on offset presses. And so the first wide format printers were proofing devices. And then we realized they could be used for signage. And then they could be used for many other things. Industrial print, as I called it. So there are new markets that are evolving as we go along. And I think that's what you have to look for. And how you find them is not going to be easy, because those markets are somewhat hidden today, because we don't define them as printing. We define them by what they do as an original market. So I think your members are going to have some challenges in that respect.
Predominantly used in Europe, in Spain, and in Argentina, which was ceramic, printing on ceramic tile. And EFI was able to take that product on, and the way it was configured, it could only do one pattern on a series of tiles. They fixed it. You could run a string of tiles, and you could print different designs on every one with the front end that they built for that device. So we see, and please tell me I'm nuts, but we see the application being for interior designers and architects, being able to go into a client, right? Say, and the client is a corporation, let's say, we need a new boardroom. Well, the client's going to design draperies and design all kinds of things that are creative new patterns, new designs. And it'll go, and they'll only want 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards. In the digital world, that is not a problem. And I think once you start doing that and get the architects on board with that, then you can see printing on any kind of substance.
You're absolutely right. I wrote a book a few years ago called The New Printing Industry. And what it said in effect was the future of the printing industry was printing on anything besides paper. That is the printing industry of the future. And you mentioned ceramics. And by the way, I'm a fan of EFI. And I'm a fan of all the companies in the industry, because they all have added to what this industry needs to help their customers be successful. That's what they're all about. And so
that's true.
Look into the future. You're going to have wallpaper personalized. You're going to have the drapes personalized. You're going to have the coverings on your chairs personalized. All of that's going to happen. And that's a new market. It's not the traditional printing market. It's
right.
New market segments that are out there. And that's going to be the challenge for companies to find them and influence them in some way. And that's different from your traditional market when you get right down to it. So you're also going through this change as well.
Well, so to these very successful dealers that we talk about some installations. There's a company called Metro Sales in Minneapolis, and I was just blown away. I said, "Well, what luck have you had with the Rico is their primary source?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Well, the new 9500, They put 15 of those, and that's the most expensive product they sell. 15 of those in an implant environment in a heartbeat. I said, wow, that's what you got to do. So although I certainly understand what you're saying about what is going on, and you got to get down there in price, short term off now, there's a market there for those products. But the emphasis is on implant, not on commercial printers.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. Again, the printing industry is a case of change. If Gutenberg invents movable type, that's letterpress, then it becomes offset lithography, then it becomes toner-based printing, then it becomes inkjet-based printing. What's next? I mean, there's no doubt that there will be something next.
That's my hope. You just hit a nail right on the head for me, because that's what I've been saying all along. And when Mark recently joined us, I said, I'm hot on textile being a good future product. And I've read what some of the analysts have looked at it. They're predicting this will develop it to about a $6 billion market within 10 years. I think it's going to be faster than that. I could be totally wrong. My wife is a former fashion designer, and she's cautioned me. She said, "This is not going to be easy."
Oh, no, but no, it's going to be new markets based on new things. Fabric is just one of them. Remember, there's also printing on plastics, printing on metal, printing on ceramics, any kind of substrate you can think of besides paper. By the way, I believe paper is going to start going up in price big time. I mean, they're closing mills like crazy in the United States because the number of commercial printers has gone down, and they bought the bulk of the paper out there. So many mills were converted over to toilet paper, Kleenex, that kind of stuff, or closing down completely. We have fewer mills in America than we had 10 years ago. And I don't think that's going to stop. I think we're going to see those changes continue as we go along. And of course, if that paper is coming from Europe, that's another thing that's going to get with the tariff. So that's why in the United States, we have to start looking for new markets, printing on new substrates.
Do you still feel upbeat about print?
Well, of course. Print will always be there. It may be less than it was in the past, but it will always be there. I track printed products. Certain printed products are not printed anymore. Phone books don't exist. A few of them maybe. Security documents, financial documents, 10Ks, annual reports. No, it's all done electronically. Anything that can go electronic will go electronic. That's the thing. You're not going to replace fabrics with pixels. That's not going to happen. You're not going to take metal and make that electronic. So that's and the whole signage market will still be there, by the way. That doesn't go away.